Good afternoon. Welcome to Citizen Live at 1. I am Anne Kiguta. President Uhuru Kenyatta is at the moment chairing a cabinet retreat in Nanyuki. The three-day retreat is being held at the Mount Kenya Safari Club and is expected to review the progress made by the government during its first year in power. Our Kendago Obadia is in Nanyuki and now joins us live on phone from that location. Kendago, good afternoon. Why don't you start by bringing us up to speed with the general overview of today's meeting?
Well, indeed, Anne Kiguta, it is true the president is right here at the Mount Kenya Safari Club. And this is very, very significant, bearing in mind that the president is doing his first year in power, and this cabinet has been the one that is expected and was expected to make the government realize its objectives, especially the Jubilee manifesto. Remember, before the president fell to power, there was a manifesto. There were promises he made to Kenyans. And this particular meeting is basically looking at the progresses that they've made, and including looking at the failures and the way forward. Remember, it's very, very critical at this moment that the president looks back at the successes of the past year and see how to plan ahead in the next, in this next coming, of course, this year that we are at now. And just looking at main things that they are looking at, first of all, is the manifesto of Jubilee. Number two, looking at the progress the government has made in terms of service delivery, and looking again at the Constitution of Kenya. They're also looking at issues to do with the arms of government. Remember, we've been going through a lot of turbulent times in the terms of looking at synergies between the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive. Those are some of the things that the cabinet will be looking into at this particular retreat. Anne?
Yeah, Kendago, you've mentioned, of course, the manifesto delivery on that, and some of the challenges we've seen is particularly in security. You will realize, of course, under the president's tenure, we've seen some of the worst attacks in terms of terror on this country with Westgate. We have not seen a decrease in the crime rate. What do we know so far as to what any plans he may have in terms of shaking up security or beefing it up? Because this certainly will be one of the major questions that he will be put to task on once he delivers the State of the Nation address that's expected soon in Parliament.
Well, it is true security is a major challenge in the country at the moment, and the president is quite keen on it. Remember, in the last cabinet meeting, which happened, I think, on the 13th of February, the cabinet approved very, very dynamic plans to beef up security in the country. And if you saw today, the person who met the president is none other than the Interior Ministry Cabinet Secretary Ole Lenku, who came to meet the president. He is the man who is really in charge of security in the country. And if you look at our history, especially towards the end of last year, you remember what happened at Westgate. Really, it's about awareness and patrol and issues to do with intelligence. And the last cabinet meeting resolved that they would be pumping a lot of money into security, including hiring or leasing aircrafts and motor vehicles for surveillance purposes. That will be one of the major issues that they will be looking at and trying to actualize the plan, having resolved to pump a lot of money into it. It's also looking at the workability of this. It's not enough to put money into it. It's not enough to say we will do this, but they are looking at the progress, what progress have been made to ensure that the country is more secure than ever before. And that is why that security aspect is part of what has been captured as topmost agenda in this particular retreat.
Yeah, Kendago, just before I let you go, you will recall a couple of weeks back the president's taking a very tough stance in terms of the performance of his cabinet, saying that he will be sending packing anyone who doesn't perform. How crucial do you think this two-day meeting will be in view of the fact that we only have a couple of I think about a month or so or less, if you like, since the inauguration of this government? Do you foresee any possible shakeups coming after this meeting?
Well, what we will be able to see is, of course, this is not just a cabinet meeting like any other, and it really involves on performance. It's checking and looking at which ministry has done what, which ministry has performed.
All right, I apologize for that loss of sound there with our Kendagoro Badia. Remember, he is, of course, in Nanyuki, where the president is present. I beg your pardon. Of course, superintending, if you like, over a meeting, a special meeting of the cabinet ahead of that 1-year commemoration since the Jubilee government came into power. We want to cross over now and discuss matters devolution, and the Senate's Finance Committee is holding a crucial meeting with the Council of Governors to discuss the recent summons by the committee of some governors. We are now joined live by our senior reporter Jackie Maribe with the very latest from County Hall in Nairobi. Jackie, begin by telling us whether this meeting has kicked off as expected.
Yes, indeed. Good afternoon, Ann Kiguta. We do continue to keep an eye on all matters. Senators and governors, as you have rightly said, we are at the County Hall here in Nairobi, where currently the Senate Finance Committee, chaired by Bilo Kero, is meeting the Finance Committee of the Council of Governors. The meeting is on. It started at about 11 this morning. However, we have not yet been allowed in. They are treating it as a closed session as of now. But we do understand, Anne, that they are discussing the division of revenue bill. Now, this is a bill that is before the Senate. The Senate is set to debate on it, and it is crucial also because it is to do with matters finance as well in the counties, and so they want the input of this particular committee of the Council of Governors right before they can continue with this bill before the House. Now, Anne, this has of course been an interesting couple of weeks. Senators versus governors, arms of government versus each other. We have seen a lot of debate, we have seen a lot of reactions, and we have even seen calls by the president himself and the deputy president himself saying each arm of government should essentially stick to their lane. Now, this is the message, again, we are getting from a number of senators and a number of governors telling each other, as senators, stick to your lane, as governors, stick to your lane. Now, you will remember last week we were able again to tell you that senators had decided that as a measure to tame governors, so to speak, they would not be debating this particular division of revenue bill. But we are seeing a change in this as the Senate Finance Committee continues with this particular meeting today, an indication that they will continue gathering input before it comes up for debate on the floor of the House. Anne.
All right, thank you, Jackie, for that. Perhaps just a quick one. Earlier, there were reports that deputy governors would be having a meeting with the senators as well, ostensibly to sort of firm up perhaps their positions. It seems unclear what their exact roles should be. Do we know anything about that? Has anything been intimated to you as to whether such a meeting will in fact be taking place?
Exactly. We had also been informed, as you're rightly saying, that deputy governors were supposed to meet with the Senate, but once we got here, the brief had already been changed, and it was this particular committee of the Council of Governors. We continue also to check when the deputy governors will have their day before the senators. The issue of deputy governors is also very crucial and very key because they keep arguing that they're not quote-unquote flower girls, and they're not just in office, you know, just to check on what their governors are doing, or by virtue of the fact that they got to office on a joint ticket. So they also have to have their day before the Senate, or rather a committee of the Senate. Their input as well, and also issues that they will be bringing before this particular House of Parliament. So we are checking on when exactly this meeting has been pushed to. It was that meeting that was supposed to be happening, but that changed to become this particular committee of the Council of Governors. Anne.
Thanks, Jackie. I guess nobody wants to be a flower girl anymore, right? sad for flower girls across the country. Thank you for your update. We'll catch up with you later in our subsequent bulletins. Our Jackie Maribe there for us. Let's switch gears now. And the sibling rivalry between the judiciary and the legislature continues to escalate, with some lawmakers now insisting that not all court orders should be followed. Senate Majority Leader Professor Kithure Kindiki says judges must test the practicability of the orders that they issue to avoid obstructing the other arms of government from executing their constitutional mandate. Our Francis Gashuri has more.
Chief Justice Dr. Willy Mutunga on Sunday hit out at Parliament for allegedly working to defeat the cause of justice by slashing the judiciary budget and often disregarding court orders. The country's top judge mincing no words that no Kenyan or any institution, Parliament included, should choose which court orders to obey and which to disregard.
You have to obey it, however idiotic, however unconstitutional it is, you have to obey it until it's changed or reviewed, and that's all we're saying.
But Dr. Mutunga's statement has not gone down well with a section of the legislature. Senate Majority Leader Professor Kithure Kindiki and Chuka Igambangombe lawmaker Muthomi Njuki argue that the judiciary must stick to its lane.
We want to appeal to the Chief Justice to stop creating confusion by trying to suggest that so long as there is a court order, even if it is unconstitutional on the face of it, that court order has to be obeyed. We cannot agree to that.
We respect the judiciary. We will support the judiciary to deliver justice and fairness in this country. But we will not accept a situation whereby the Chief Justice of these republics tells us to obey unconstitutional and idiotic court orders. That does not make sense.
The National Assembly last week slashed the judiciary budget by 500 billion shillings. That money had been allocated for the construction of court buildings across the country, a move the Judicial Service Commission says will affect the delivery of justice. But Parliament has defended the reallocation, pointing out that the money had been channeled to the Directorate of Public Prosecutions and the State Law Office, which are co-actors in the delivery of justice.
We are not discriminating the judiciary. We are asking legitimate constitutional questions so that the judiciary also can put itself into order.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has called for a ceasefire between the executive, the judiciary and the legislature, and asked the three arms of government to work within their constitutional limits to deliver services to the Kenyan population. Francis Gashuri, Citizen Live at 1.